the shadows, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going through. It's down low, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going.
Yo, welcome back TPL Nation for another draft analysis video. And we're actually doing draft analysis video on my favorite team in the TPL, and I hope it's yours too, the Augusta Aggrons, coached by the one, the only, AceTrainrRyan. And so, obviously this is my personal draft, so I'm very excited to see what we can do with this team. I know in Season 2 we were really battling back from not really the best team in the world. It had its diamonds in the rough, hands down, but I think with us having our own draft, and I really like our draft, like I really love our draft, I feel like we can really put in some work this season and hopefully make our second playoff berth in the TPL. So, without further ado, we have our first member, our Grimsnarf, and we did pick this up off of Angel, and it basically cost us a 4th round draft pick, and I think looking back, what was free for 4th round, I think Grimsnarf is a very good Pokemon to pick up for a 4th round pick. Getting access to Prankster and Frisk are obviously both really good abilities. Probably will run Prankster most of the time. Grimsnarf is a very good Prankster Pokemon. It can do quite a few different things, but I think we'll all agree that the Light Clay version is the most supporting set for it. So of course the Screens and Light Clay set are very good. But with Prankster, it can get like Prankster Bulk Up. It does get Drain Punch, so it can be a very interesting Pokemon to try to push through. You know, it does get Spirit Break. It does get, does it get Knockoff? It does not get Knockoff, unfortunately, but Darkest Lariat's right there. So this can be an offensive or a defensive Pokemon. You could definitely argue that it's better suited for the defensive role, and I might be inclined to agree with you, to be honest. Having a good screen setter in Grimsnarf could be very good, and I can't wait to use this Pokemon. I've never really used it, but I think, you know, getting a support role early in the draft kind of helped me go more offensive with the rest of my picks, as we'll move on here. Another member that I actually kept from the OG Augusta Aggrons, you could say it's almost like my honorary mascot, other than Aggron, is the Sock. And Sock put in a ton of work last season. This Pokemon is not the easiest to deal with in a draft format. Usually running Choice Band or Choice Scarf, with the Sturdy ability being my favorite. You know, Choice Banded Close Combat hits like a truck. It also gets the Fairy coverage and Poison Jab. It gets other great moves, like it gets, of course, the Elemental Punches. It gets Bulk Up if you want to run some kind of Bulk Up Salic set. It does get quite a bit of coverage, and I feel like that's all it really needs at the end of the day. With moves like Knockoff, like you're pretty much covering all your bases in one move set. And in draft format, you don't really need to cover 18 types. You just need to cover whatever your opponent has. So it's definitely a good Pokemon, and I really love it. And I love that this Pokemon shines in draft. I mean, it has 85 base speed, so that's definitely middle of the way speed, middle of the road speed. It's not amazing. 125 attack is very respectable, very good attack stat. And with a Choice Band, like, this thing hits like a truck. And I would definitely say that its biggest, like, pro for me is definitely the Sturdy ability. It was just like last season was so. It was so good to just be able to click a move without, like, fearing the Pokemon going down to whatever my opponent might have, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, Sock does have the ability to hit its counters and its checks very hard with its moves. Now, I will say, it is kind of easy to predict Sock, like with a poison type switch in or something of that nature, but that's where, good coverage moves like knockoff and poison jab are coming in. It's like if you predict the switch and hit them with a knockoff or a poison jab, it's still going to do a ton of damage, and if they're not faster than you, or you still have your sturdy intact, they either have to just let that Pokemon die, or then switch into the switch in for like the poison move or the dark move. It's not necessarily the easiest Pokemon to switch into by any means, and I would definitely say to combat Sock, really the best thing you could do is to just hit it. Like I've seen quite a few opponents in Season 2, just they just get, like, their team gets hurt like by Sock, just straight up, because they try to switch around it, or they don't necessarily have the best way to handle it. And Sock is just a very good Pokemon in my opinion, because it can put out that offensive pressure to really pressure on that opponent. What do I do? Like, do I switch out? Do I just try to hit it and break it sturdy? It is very good, but Sock does have glaring weaknesses to like hazard switch ins and stuff like that. So we could definitely see maybe a heavy duty boot set this season if I see like an obvious like switch in set, like obvious hazard set or something like that coming in to set up rocks or something, or we've seen T-Spikes set up on this thing in the past. So like Sock is not unbeatable by any stretch of the imagination. The thing's died plenty of times, but I feel like for what it does very, very well in the Draft League format. It comes in with sturdy. It's really hard to kill. Like, most of the time you can't one-shot it, because if sturdy's intact, you just can't, unless you have something niche like dual wing beat or something, or dual chop. It's just really strong. It has enough speed. I feel like there is like the tier 100, I feel like there's a lot of Pokemon that like max out at 80, so Sock can actually get the leg up on those Pokemon, outspeeding. So yeah, Sock's pretty good. So we'll move on to Latias here. Unfortunately, I did have Latios sniped from me, just a few picks in front of me. I did want to go a little bit more offensive with this dragon, but I feel like Latias has a lot of things going for it that Latios doesn't. PokeAimMD recently came out with a video on this Pokemon, as well as one up on False Swipe Gaming's channel, perfectly outlining what Latias can do over Latios, and vice versa. Latios can put on a lot more offensive pressure, but when it comes to living a hit, as you can see, Latias's stats are quite good for living special and physical hits, and with still mounting an 110 base speed and 110 special attack, it's definitely a very decent Pokemon to have on a team 5, sure. And Souldo. So here's my thing with Souldo. It's a shadow of what it used to be. However, I do have it in this move slot, because I could definitely see possibly bringing Souldo if I don't feel like I want to use Specs, or I don't feel like I want to use something like Leftovers, or if I don't feel like I want to use something like Scarf. I can pack Souldo, and while it only does give a 1.2 boost to specifically Dragon and Psychic moves, its stab moves, it does allow me to run other items on other teams. And I feel like in this league where we have item clause, it's definitely a plus for it. Is Souldo, it's not the best item, and by any stretch of the imagination, you could definitely say Life Orb or Specs or Scarf would be better on this Pokemon, but if I have the ability to run those on other Pokemon, hey, that's got to be a plus. But Latias is amazing. As we look through its set, it did get new tools in Aurasphere and Mystical Fire, being able to hit steel types as well as like bulky grass types, which I feel like is really good for it. It does have other interesting moves, like we do see Dragon Dance on this, so maybe like a Dragon Dance Latias could come out one week. That'd be pretty heat. But it does have certain things that Latios doesn't get, like Healing Wish, so it can do more of a support role if needed. Maybe Healing Wish and then bring something back. But it definitely has some pretty good potential moves. It does get Recover and Roost, so this thing could snowball potentially with like a Calm Mind variant, or even a Dragon Dance variant. Who knows, maybe. But it gets enough coverage that I feel like it just, it does what it needs to do, and what it's always done is just, being able to put off decent offensive pressure with also saying like, hey, like, good luck one-shotting, because, it's kind of hard to do. With, interesting support moves like Thunder Wave. It has Thunderbolt for electric type coverage. Tailwind, that could be a very interesting move. A Trick variant could be very interesting to cripple like bulky walls or something that want to recover on it. Wish support, Latias has a lot of moves, and that's kind of why Latias has a lot of moves, and that's why I wanted to run it with that's why I wanted to get one. I wanted either Latios or Latias to really give me that mix of bulk, but also like offensive pressure. Obviously, Latios would have been a lot better offensively with 130 base attack instead of the 130 special defense. However, I feel like we can still make Latias work. Absolutely. And I know this thing is a top tier threat in UU right now for good reasons. And we do see other Draft League moves that we could possibly see coming out, like Charm, Charge Beam, in case I want to set up while also hitting an opponent. So it could be some interesting stuff going on. Oh, that's right, it does get Future Sight. So if it's anything I learned from some matches in Season 2, is Future Sight's a really good tech option to force your opponent to switch around and get like residual damage and residual KOs. So could definitely be some good options there. As we keep going, the moves just keep scrolling on. It does have Scale Shot, which could be interesting just to do some damage while also gaining some speed, not necessarily for that physical attack. But Scale Shot is just another option that I am acknowledging. So it does get certain things like Solar Beam for the Sun teams that can run around in this draft league. So definitely a lot of options. I had no idea Latias' move pool was actually this deep while going through. So I am excited to use this Pokemon, and I think it'll put a lot of work in for the team. Alright, as we move on to maybe one of the more controversial picks, since this was a second round pick for me, I believe, is Lapras. Now, Lapras has really good bulk, in my opinion. 130 base HP, decent defenses. It has a Gigantamax form that can set up screens with Gmax Resonance. It has very decent bulk with its stats, and then you're having good abilities like Hydration, Water Absorb, even Shell Armor to an extent are all decent abilities. Hydration Rest is really good in like Rain for interest. For example, you could see, as you can see, its moveset is very deep. It does get other options like Curse and Dragon Dance, which could come out. We have Heal Bell as a good option. Freeze Dry is always good. You got Hyper Voice, Ice Shard for some priority if you ever need some niche priority. Maybe you're facing something like a Salamence or a Dragonite and you want to hit them for some 4 times damage, like just to pick them off. Maybe they're setting up on you and they just have a little bit of HP back. Ice Shard might be that little chip that just stops you from getting swept. We have Outrage, which might come out, Gmax, Dynamax, Wormwind there, Perish Song, Protect, the degeneracy that could come out of this Pokemon. Psychics, a really good coverage, Roar to Phase, Sparkling Aria, very, very good move actually. I mean, I might not want to heal any burns, but, looking at the rest of my team, I don't think there's too much potential for burning. Thunder and Thunderbolt, Surf, good coverage moves. Weather Ball in the rain or sand could be very good since Lapras can be used as a special attacker. It could be very interesting. Also giving me a move in Sun, a fire move. And then you come down to the usually useless moves, and this is normally where you get all your good draft sets like Charm, Confuse Ray, Double Team. So I feel like Lapras will be a good Pokemon to annoy my opponent and kind of wear down maybe their more physical Pokemon, because Lapras can really take a hit and then fire back very decently. As we move on to one of a very interesting Pokemon that I'm extremely excited to use is our Lycanrock Dusk. So as we look at Lycanrock, it's super fast. It has the potential to hit hard. This is probably the best Lycanrock form, with Tough Claws giving that basically a free life orb boost to moves that make contact. So you could run Choice Band with Tough Claws, and all of a sudden that possibly mediocre to good attack stat of 117 is getting pushed a lot higher. And it does give us good priority moves in a Cell Rock. Not a lot of Pokemon get that. I know it's like Lycanrock's signature move. This Pokemon also gets Close Combat, it gets Stone Edge, it gets Swords Dance. This Pokemon can be very, very threatening, and I'm really glad we got it, because I'm gonna be honest, I was trying to snatch it like all of Season 2, because I would see the coach that had it come in and click Stealth Rocks with it, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like I know we all want to be like big brain, and if they're switching out, set up the rocks in their face, and you can get some style points for doing stuff like that. But having this as a rocks lead, like a suicide rocks lead, there's just so much better uses for Lycanrock in my opinion. So I'm super excited to have it, and I know it's going to put in some work. As we move on, we have maybe more of a sleeper pick on our team is our Seismitoad, with abilities Swift Swim, Poison Touch, and Water Absorb. I feel like all of those are very useful. I feel like we should practically all know what Seismitoad can do. You could run all kinds of stuff. It could be Assault Vest, Leftovers, maybe like a Life Orb, like if you want to hit really hard or something of that nature. And it gets very decent coverage. I mean, Poison Jab, Liquidation, Ice Punch, to hit on the physical and special side, Power Whip, Rock Slide. It's got Rest for like more niche situations, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, Stealth Rock, so it adds a rocker to my team, so I don't have to use my Lycanrock as a rocker, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's got good moves like Knockoff. It's really good. While it does have a 4x weakness to grass, and not being the best water ground type, is like not being as good as something like Swampert. Like, you could definitely say Seismitoad is not a bad Pokemon at all. And it has interesting things it can do. So I'm definitely interested in using this Pokemon. I'm just kind of going to glaze over the moves because Seismitoad's been around for a while. We know what it does. It can wear stuff down. So as we move on, we bring back our second member of the Augusta Aggrons. Glad to have it back as our Skuntank. So when I was going through the draft, I definitely wanted to make sure I had a grounded poison type to clear Toxic Spikes, because Toxic Spikes were a big nuisance in Season 2 for a lot of teams, not just us. And I feel like Skuntank is a very good Pokemon. I love to use it in like draft. I just have a few notable moves that it does get that I could use. Corrosive Gas being a nice move that takes the item but doesn't do damage, so you could avoid a potential weakness policy or something like that if you just want to get rid of items. Memento could be really good if we want to set up for something in the back to switch in. Taunt to stop things setting up in front of us. Skuntank's very decent. Like, even its stats aren't the best, but I definitely would say that I like it at 84 speed. It can usually outspeed quite a fair bit of stuff. Aftermath in the bag just to get a little bit of chip damage if we can. It's a pretty decent move to go with. And honestly, I feel like Black Sludge is basically like having a second Leftovers on your team, and you know, it's something only poison types can use. So it's kind of like that argument with Souldo I was talking about earlier. So Skuntank, a very good Pokemon that I know will continue to put in work. So looking forward to that. And we move on to our final guy. Now I have mixed feelings about him. I really do. But it is Arthwacky. And the reason I say I have mixed feelings is because I feel like we could have something better on the team, but I like it for what it is. Like, I've never used this Pokemon. It's basically a mini Rillaboom. It's very interesting in the fact that, you know, it gets Grassy Glide, so it does the same thing as Rillaboom does with the Grassy Surge, Grassy Glide combo. With Eviolite, it actually makes it a fair bit bulky, so you're looking at like 105 base defense and 190 SPDF with an Eviolite, basically. So, you know, you are looking at something, you know, that might actually be able to take a hit and also gets that ability to Dynamax. So, you know, Swords Dance being an obviously good move. I know this thing gets Wood Hammer for a really strong stab move. It gets good stuff like Knockoff. It gets Acrobatics. It gets Superpower. Oh, it doesn't get Superpower. Okay, that's one noticeable weakness that noticeable difference that I've seen, because I think Rillaboom gets Superpower, but I'm not sure. But it does get Hammer Arm. So this thing pretty much does everything that Rillaboom does, but a little bit worse. Actually, kind of a lot worse. But, you know, we do have 85 base attack, which isn't the worst in the world. It's definitely not the best either. To me, I would say 90 base attack is kind of decent. So we're just kind of missing that mark of decent there. But with a Swords Dance, we could double our attack, so it'd be kind of like 170, which is very powerful at that point. But, you know, we're kind of relying on a lot of things. It's kind of like Thwacky's middle of the way bulk with an Eviolite, our opponent not paralyzing it or something, or burning it. You know, so Thwacky's definitely kind of for niche situations, but I feel like Thwacky could be interesting just like Raboot could. You know, there's definitely some worse non-fully evolved Pokemon we could have gotten. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out for us, and I'm interested to using it in the draft. Now, if we look back at this team, I would definitely say that there are some shared weaknesses. We do see 3 Grass-type weaknesses, if I'm not mistaken here, between the Seismitoad, the Lycanrock, and the Lapras. So that it does look like the most glaring shared weakness. So there are like certain ways to go about dealing with that. We do see the Skuntank on this team. It does have hazard removal in Skuntank with defog as well. I do think Latias also gets defog, so it could be. So this team isn't too afraid of the hazards, which is good, because Sock breaking that sturdy with the hazard could be a bad thing. All in all, I'll probably rank this team an 8, just because it's not. And here's my thing: it's not like super threatening. It feels like it can be very offensive, but at the same time, if you can be careful and play around it, it might not be the hardest thing for teams to get through. It's still a very good team. And personally, I'm very happy that my draft turned out so well. As of right now, I'm not even looking to trade out anything. So we'll see what goes on there. But yeah, I'm going to leave it as an 8, just because I feel like the only thing that this team's really lacking is maybe like a pinch hitter, like a standout offensive threat, just like, oh my god, like, you know, just something to make the opponent just go, oh my god, like, that's on the team, you know what I'm saying? Just something that sticks out. But there are threats on this team, there are walls, so I feel like this team can put in some work, and I feel like it's gonna put in some work, and I feel like for what we've been using, like, all throughout Season 2, I think I'm gonna have a lot more fun with this in our attempt to get a second playoff berth. So I'll see you guys in the next draft analysis video. This is AceTrainrRyan. Peace.